All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome. My name is Jason Kreutner from University School of the Low Country. This is, again, one of our programs for our students in the greater community where we're looking at topics of interest and cultural and interesting activities that are happening in our community. We're at home now with the crazy coronavirus, but looking forward to learning about all these neat things that are happening so that when all of this begins to sort of settle down, we can take part and meet all these people in person and see these neat activities. Special thanks to the Convention Center Visitors Bureau, Taylor Harris, and all of them helping get us connected to Randy Draftz today, who is a man of many hats in the sailing world, and Jessica, is it Koenig? Jessica Koenig, who's in Charleston Community Sailing, and Kevin Jewett, who's the sailing coach at the College of Charleston, which is an incredible team. And I know that they've just already been, with the coronavirus this spring, knocking into their season and stuff like that. But I'm gonna turn it over to Randy. We're glad everyone's here. And kids, we'll start turning off our video screens now. All right, Randy, thank you.
Great. Oh, we'll see if I can share this PowerPoint screen here. Let's see. How do I do that? I guess.
There you go. Yeah, we can see it fine.
Okay, great. All right, let me, hold on here. Gonna back this up here just a second.
That's the view out your back window, right, Randy?
Yeah. Yeah, it's not as fancy as your back screen there. Great. Okay. All right. So yeah, this is Sailing Charleston. You know, how do we get there? And this is what we do. But you know, for the families and the students of the school, you know, there's just a plethora of ways of getting involved in the sport. And you know, I've always spent years, you know, trying to explain to people that, you know, when you're walking along the waterfront and you're seeing these sailboats out there sailing around, that it really can be you. So there are all these different programs that allow you to get involved in the sport in many ways. And, you know, whether it's boat ownership or crewing, learning how through sailing schools, participating with sailing clubs. You know, Jessica will talk about high school sailing. Kevin will talk about, you know, the collegiate sailing. There's just a number of ways that you can get involved. And, you know, for the students and the youth, I mean, it's obviously, it's a sport that goes lifelong, you know. I mean, I'm turning into one of those gray-haired sailors that we used to make fun of when I was in high school and college. But, you know, I've been probably sailing for, gosh, more than 50 years. Think about that. Oof. And then there's even, you know, with this virus and things going around where we can't get onto the boats, there's now virtual reality sailing that's out there. Matter of fact, I was at a World Sailing meeting a couple of years ago where they actually had an e-sailing world championship. So, you know, there's all different ways that we can get involved in this great sport. You know, we're lucky enough to have 4 local yacht clubs that are they're private clubs, but many of them will have, you know, public junior sailing programs and opportunities for people to get involved in the sport as well. You can always, we'll share this PowerPoint too, so that you can keep in touch with them. You know, community programs, yeah, there's Charleston Community Sailing. You know, we're lucky enough to have Jessica Koenig with us today. She's going to share quite a bit of information. College of Charleston, gosh, one of the most successful collegiate sailing programs in the country. It's incredibly impressive. And yet they've got a sailing association side of their program too, that allows families to get involved and charter their boats, and very inexpensive entry to the sport of sailing. Charleston Ocean Racing Association is more of the big boat side of things, and big boats, I mean 24 feet up to, 45 or 50 feet. But they manage a program that allows these boats to race, and they've got, plenty of opportunities for crewing positions, whether you're an adult or, older youth. And again, at a very inexpensive way, I think it's $50 a year is their membership. And they have monthly meetings, and they host about 30 some races a year. They're also the owner of Explore Charleston Race Week, which we'll see at the end of the program. We also have a national governing body of the sport of sailing, which is a U.S. Sailing. And they're, I used to say that, that their thought was, it was our passion managed, or something like that. It was a funny phrase, but they're very keen on teaching people to teach how to sail, and managing the quality of the sport in a way. So if you want to become a sailing instructor, it's obviously the best path is through U.S. Sailing. Same thing for race management. I currently sit as chair of the race admin, which is race management folks, judges, umpires, the rules of sailing. So they have a big task in front of them, and sort of managing the sport for us and helping us gain exposure for the sport, and making sure that the experience you have when you do participate in the sport is fair and of acceptable quality. I don't know. We're going to try a little experiment here. We'll see if this link will work here for us. And that'll tell us a little bit more. Let me know if this is working for everybody.
So Randy, we're getting the video, but not audio.
Okay.
Try turning on subtitles.
All right, I even got out of it. Okay. But you can see how, what U.S. Sailing has a lot on their plate and what they're trying to accomplish, which is pretty amazing. I won't go to I'll leave this link and we'll share this PowerPoint later, but the REACH program, which Jessica will talk a little bit about, and also Kevin, but it's been a very successful program in how to get the youth. When I was growing up, boy, I wish I had STEM. It was a lot of sailing lessons that we could use to develop math skills and science skills and things like that. It's very impressive. So Kevin Jewett, who is on with us, right? Should I play your video, or do you want to just
Well, I
take
think
it from here?
I mean, I think I'll just take a few minutes to talk about our program. I don't know if there are. I guess we're going to do a Q&A at the end as well. But College of Charleston Sailing is maybe some of you guys, as you drive into Mount Pleasant, see a sign on the side of the road that says Mount Pleasant, home of the 2017 and then 2018 collegiate national champions in sailing, and that is the College of Charleston Sailing program. Our program has grown in strength and tradition for probably about 50 years. It was started as a club at the college in the 60s, and then became a varsity program around 1980. And since that time has attracted a lot of the best sailors in the country. And in the last couple decades, kids from around the world have been coming to Charleston to go to college and compete on the College of Charleston sailing team in collegiate sailing, which is a part of the sport. And Jessica will talk a little bit more, I think, about high school sailing. But for instance, like the Wando High School has a sailing team that has about 20, or maybe they're up to almost 30 kids on the team. And the great thing about high school and collegiate sailing is that it is a pretty open platform because it doesn't require participants to have their own equipment. All of the equipment is actually owned by the school or the program where you sail. And so it opens up the door to sailing to a large audience, and anybody who's really interested in sailing that has a high school team can probably find a way onto that program. At least definitely on the high school level. And then as you come into college, you would probably pick a school that fit your abilities and interests if you wanted to sail at that school. And that's one of the neat things about collegiate sailing. I think the other aspect that makes it kind of unique in the sport, with all the equipment being provided, your field of play, or the competitive, the boats being the same exact boats. As you go through an event and you're competing against each other, you actually trade boats. So everybody sails in the whole fleet of boats by the end of the event, if it goes to plan. And that way you're all competing on the same equipment against each other. And it makes for a very even event. And so it comes down to the skill of the sailors and their strength and ability to get around the race course. Sometimes equipment becomes a little bit more of a factor when people are bringing their own equipment to events. The equipment side of the sport can become a dominant factor in who ends up winning. That's kind of nice in high school and college sailing. That part of the equation is minimized, so it makes it a little more fair in some ways. As far as our program, it's not just a collegiate sailing team. We have an association, as Randy mentioned, that allows local members to join. We've got a fleet of 10 22-foot small keel boats called J22s that are great entry level or advanced racing class. It's a nice boat that's pretty easy to sail. Usually it's raced by 3 or 4 people. And the association allows members to come down and go sailing 5 days a week. And that runs all year long. And so a lot of people locally join our association as a way to just get out on the water and go sailing with their friends and family. It's not very expensive, so it's a nice way to get time on the water. And there's no real barrier to entry other than you do need to know how to sail. So we do teach adult sailing classes through the spring and fall and summer. And we also teach on those J22s a summer program for kids, 1-week camps that really is aimed at kids between the ages of 8, 14, or 15. And it's an entry-level intro to sailing course. Some kids come year in, year out. We've had kids that have come for 4 or 5 years and now are junior instructors for us, and that's always a fun thing to see. But we do 2 different types of courses for those. We do your basic intro to sailing, and then we do one based on STEM education, which Randy talked a little bit about. And that's a great way to sort of filter in different lessons that you can apply from school into how sailing works, the physics behind sailing, the math and the angles. One of the things that I think is really great about sailing is that it is not a singular. There's a lot of aspects of sailing. So there's basically three key elements to great sailors. They're physically able to do the work. They're physically able to move around the boat. Their strength and ability is one aspect. The other is their mind, and how it's kind of like a chess match when you're racing sailboats. And there's different types of sailing, but your mind and how you can analyze a race course and pick the spot to put your boat versus your competitors, that becomes like a chess match. So it's very mental. And then there's a whole nother aspect of it, the technical side of how you put your sails and how you rig your boat and how you adjust the rigging of your boat so that it matches the environment that you're sailing in. And so those 3 components kind of combine together, and there's science, there's math, there's geometry, angles, all sorts of factors. And then there's just the physical aspect of being in shape and being able to actually do the stuff on the boat. So it makes for a really kind of holistic sport and allows different abilities to come out in different people. So you don't have to be the strongest guy in the world to win the race. You don't have to be, sometimes you don't have to be the smartest, but some combination thereof, you put it together and you present your boat to Mother Nature, as one of the great sailors in America likes to put it. A guy named Buddy Melga says, you present your boat to Mother Nature and you let the boat do the work. And it's a very neat sport. And as Randy is trying to make clear here, it is something that there are a lot of avenues to get into. And so I think I will leave it at that. Unless there's anything else you think I should cover, Randy.
I think that's great. Yeah, we'll leave it for some questions at the end.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Jessica, the leader of our junior programs in high school and innovator of getting more people into the sport. Jessica's been involved in community sailing for how many years now?
13?
13 years. A few years. But anyway, I'm going to let her, she has a PowerPoint presentation as well with what she does with community sailing. So I'll let you take it from there, Jessica.
Thanks, Randy. Jason, just how much time do we have, or is there remaining? I can't hear you.
This goes till 12. So if we
Okay.
can leave the last 10 minutes for questions would be great.
Okay, great. Let me see. I'm going to share my screen here. I can figure out how to do it. Oh, Randy, you have to stop sharing.
Oh, gotcha.
Mhm. All right, can you guys see that? All right,
Yep.
so, all right, a little embarrassing for me probably, but this is when I first started sailing. The top left, those are what we had as far as life jackets. Obviously, times have quite changed. I think when I was a child, around your guys' age, around 10, 11, 12 or so, and I started sailing, a young teenager, I think I was like, why do I have to wear this horrible orange life jacket? And I did not like it, but it turned out to be one of the best things that my family introduced me to, because it allowed me to do so many things. Spend time on the water, which I love, meet a lot of wonderful people, and truly travel the world on sailboats and sailing on teams. Obviously, I've been coaching sailing for, I don't know, 25 years or so. I've been able to do it all over the world, all over the country. And then I've sailed competitively on a lot of teams. And that's one of the boats that Kevin was talking about earlier, is a Mildred's 24. And that was several years in Miami on the bottom. And that was just such a fun experience with 5 people. And one of the things that I really loved about getting involved in sailing was that it allowed me to travel, which is a passion of mine. And thank God, since then, life jackets have really upgraded, and you can see the black one I have on in that middle picture. So they're not as as bright and orange as they used to be. Let's see. A little bit about Charleston Community Sailing. We just celebrated 20 years. We provide public access for anyone who wants to learn how to sail, ages 5 and up. So we've got summer sailing programs, high school sailing programs, STEM education programs. We partner with schools. We've got small boats that are 7 feet up to 24 feet. We've got adult classes, keelboat classes. And there's so much that sailing can teach you, not just about wind and weather, but, you know, truly life skills. And so we're open up to anybody who wants to participate, a wide array of classes that we offer. And we roughly serve about 1,000 people a year and get them on the water. I think the next slide is an activity. So if you guys have a piece of paper, could you all grab a piece of paper? I know that I can't see everybody, so you're on your own here trying it. I'll see if I can grab something myself. All right, so you are going to, we'll do a little timer here. You're going to try to build the tallest freestanding tower with one single sheet of paper, and try not to use any other materials, okay? I'll give you guys 2 minutes to try to do it. You can do anything to your one piece of paper that you have, but nothing else, no tape, no additional objects. And go. A little downtime here, but I see some people moving. want you to try to build the tallest tower and make sure, see if you can make it stand up for how long. See, Kimberly's there. Jason, I don't know quite how it works with if the kids want to show their video on to show us how high the tower is.
Yeah, they could. Y'all are welcome to show Jessica what you're up to.
Does that stop with the lag or so? Does it do something as far as that's concerned?
Sometimes, yeah.
Oh.
Kevin's working on it big time.
All right, some of you guys might have to adjust your camera so we can see what you've created. Still have more time, so. Couple more seconds. All right, what do we got? Does anyone have, let me turn my timer off here. Does anyone have anything they want to show us? James? Is it standing up?
It can get close to. It was standing, but now it won't. I've done this before and I did really well, but
You did?
I had a whole week to do it and I was allowed to use tape.
Whoa, a whole week. We gave you a little bit less time than that, huh?
Yep.
What do you have over there? Is it leak?
Oh, Lee, show us what you got.
Oh, there we go.
Looks pretty high there.
William's still working. Griffin, you want to talk to us about yours?
I ripped the sheet of paper in half, and then I rolled them both together. Now it's tall.
Nice. Anybody else have something they want to show us or that was able to stand up? Or an idea that worked for them?
Grace, you want to talk about yours?
So I cut off the two corners, and then I decided only to put one, and then I put the pieces of paper in the tiny little hole right there.
Anybody else?
Blair, you want to talk about yours?
Mine stand for 10 seconds, and I made it like a triangle.
Nice. All right, well, the unique thing about this is that it teaches you kind of how to design and redesign and engineering, and there's so much in sailing that is the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. From, Kevin was talking about sailing and the angles that we sail, the simple machines that are on sailboats, figuring out your angles, the sail area of a sail. So there's so much and that you can learn from it. Has anyone in this group ever been sailing before? Jason, nice. Well, there's a few things you'll need before you go out on the water. Can anyone think of anything that you might need?
Sailboat.
A sailboat. We'll start with that. That's a good thing. Yep, you'll need a boat to get out on the water. And then we also want to make sure you have the right safety gear. You saw that I had that beautiful orange life jacket on earlier. So you want to make sure you have the right safety gear as far as life jacket, any safety, if depending on the temperature of the water, you might want to have more foul weather gear on or warmer clothes compared to when you're sailing or out on the water in the summer. You can have your bathing suit on. Obviously, you can get hypothermia and get colder. It's always important to know the weather conditions and then whatever you might need in a boat to help keep you safe. If you're leaving or let somebody know you're going out on the boat. And you can have a VHF, sunscreen, water, all of that necessary equipment. Because whether you're sailing with us or by yourself, it's important that you guys are always safe out on the water. Earlier when I was talking about traveling, one of the reasons I got into sailing, this is actually a map of the Volvo Ocean Race. And it's a race that actually sails around the world. So you can see this was an older version of it, but you can see all the places that they sail to and where they stop, which is kind of cool. So there's some legs that are a little longer than others, but you can see the path that they follow. So, learning how to sail on a small boat in the community here can lead you to maybe sailing on a leg here on one of these huge boats, sailing around the world with a team of people. If you wanted to do that, there's a lot of opportunities and ways for you kind of to develop your own passion for sailing. Earlier when I was talking about things you need to have, there's a lot of resources online, and I'm sure you guys are probably familiar with, I don't know if everyone has a cell phone nowadays, maybe they do, but there's all kinds of weather apps. So you really want to know what's going on with the weather before you head out on the water. So if I'm looking here, if I know it's going to be nice out, I think we all are pretty familiar with Charleston weather. It can change so quickly. So, if it's sunny skies and beautiful out, yes, I'll go sailing. But if it starts to see the sky getting darker and you see those dark clouds coming, you probably want to head to land. So it's always important to kind of keep your head out of the boat and on the weather and to see what's happening. So, I'll check the weather. Scattered thunderstorms, 3, at 4 it looks sunny. There's a percentage of rain, the wind direction, what's the miles per hour. Wind is actually also measured in knots. So there's certain little weather stations around the community. And this one's at James Island Yacht Club, which is over at James Island. And it measures the wind speed and the gusts. You can kind of see that green where it says 16, 15, 14, it's got the wind speed, and the gusts come in below that, what the numbers are for the bigger puffs of wind that are coming through, and then what the sky will mean. So, these are all important things. Like I said, ultimately, we want you guys to be safe. If it's something, a passion you pick up, and if you go out on the water, these are all things that you need to be aware about before you head out. Like if it's too windy, everybody thinks like if it's windy, sailors must love it. But if it's too windy, it might not be safe to go out. So you want to be smart because you want to come back. And if there's not enough wind, you might not be able to go in and come back. So, always bring a paddle with me. Always have your life jacket. Always let somebody know where you're going. Or have a safety boat with you once you feel like you feel comfortable within your own skills. But there's all kinds of resources online to check, the tides. We have a strong tide here and current in the harbor. So there's all kinds of things to learn about the weather as well as the clouds and the sky to stay kind of tuned into that, so you're making smart decisions when you head out. Just the same if you're playing any other sport, soccer or swimming or surfing. You know, you're probably not going to do any of those when it's thundering and lightning, and you certainly don't want to do those when you're in a sailboat. But there's all kinds of apps on the phone or your computer, like weather.com. I think this bottom one with the wind is called Wind Alert. And I don't know if anyone else recommends some other weather apps, but there's all kinds of links on the phone. Speaking of wind, can you tell anything between the two difference of these pictures between the wind on the water? I can't see if anybody has an answer, but.
Yeah, James?
So one is calm and the wind's probably blowing. It's not really blowing that much because I've been sailing and I know what both of these mean. And then the bottom one, that's not really perfect sailing weather because the waves can be stronger, the wind's a lot harder, and the boat can tip over easily. That type of.
Yeah. What is it called when the boat tips over?
Capsize.
Yes. All right. Good job, James. He's a sailor. All right. So yeah, I mean, he brings up some great points. The top picture is where it's really calm. So they call that like kind of a lull, not a lot of breeze. And then you can obviously tell the difference. On the bottom is the breeze is on and little rougher conditions. So, you know, maybe I'd like to sail in the top one. If it's the bottom one, I don't think so. Do you have a question?
So on the top one, it doesn't look like there's a lot of wind. And on the bottom one, there's a lot of wind. So when you're sailing, would you want like something in between that? Because maybe the top one's like too calm.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I think I would want something in between the two. But not to the bottom one, definitely not. And the water better be warm if it's the bottom one, because I don't want cold water coming. All right, let's see what else I have here. So this is kind of a list of our programs that we have. We run all the sailing for the Charleston County Parks. We do a variety of youth classes and adult classes. We have a Girls on the Water program where it's all girls mentoring high school girls, mentoring middle school girls and other high school girls who want to learn how to sail. We've got keelboat and adult classes, scholastic sailing, a Special Olympics team, summer sailing for ages 5 and up. We probably do around 330 kids through our summer classes, stand-up paddleboard, and Woman on the Water program. I started that about 5 years ago, and it was such a great response from the community. We kind of modeled that same program for girls because I thought, you know, as a woman, that was really important to me, and brought this whole community of women together. So I wanted to create that for the younger girls. High school sailing, something you guys are probably, you know, making your way towards high school. These are a list of the schools that participate in high school sailing. Obviously, I know the Citadel is a college program, but these are schools that participate locally. And so there's a mix of public and private schools, and they sail. We've got a fleet of 420s, so they're 2-person boats. You'll see in that middle picture there. And the teams practice end of August till November and January till May, about 1 to 3 times a week after school. So obviously in January and May, it's a little bit cooler. And then they, you know, have regattas that they go to compete locally and within North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. So the teams do travel a little bit, and it's a great way to, you know, make other friends and travel locally. And then they have a national championship So it's a great way. And then outside of high school sailing, you know, Kevin was talking about college sailing, if you want to continue on to that. Randy was talking about the local open regattas, and we've got a handful of yacht clubs in town, and they have open regattas every summer. So if you have your own boat, you can sail in those and represent a club, or you can borrow a boat from us and sail. And we always have coaches out there who will help you if you're just starting. So you always have to start somewhere. And we're here to help you get started if that's something you want to do. Whether you want to do summer classes with us or private lessons, there's all kinds of opportunities. And we live in this beautiful city that's surrounded by water, and that we want to help you guys do that. So this is our facility. A higher view of it. We've got around 50 boats. And then you'll see, you can disregard that question right there. But we have all of our safety boats on the dock, and those are obviously powered by engines. And then the sailboats over on the other side. And here's a little diagram, just checking the time. Just to kind of show you how the wind works and how it pushes the boat through the water. So you guys can see you have the apparent wind, the actual wind, and the wind that's created by the motion of the boat. And so it's pushing on your sails to help propel your boat forward and through the water. And then if you guys do any kind of social media, I know that we probably all have our social media avenues to share. But if you're interested in learning more about our programs, they're all online. And then I know you wanted to ask some questions, so turn it over back to you, Jason.
Kevin, Jessica, Randy, that was really nice. It was neat how you went from one aspect to another, and tying it together with the spirit of South Carolina this morning, a very comprehensive view of these opportunities in our area. Kids, you can turn your video on if you've got questions for any aspect of the stuff that you've heard about, or even something you didn't. Now's your moment.
So for the summer, I would want to do one of the sailing camps that you might put on. When would they start?
Good question. Summer sailing is supposed to start like the first week of June, and it typically runs through mid-August. So there's a variety of sessions throughout the summer. And hopefully we're all on target to start for summer. I think there's so many unknowns right now, but we offer classes all throughout the year for youth.
This is your moment.
Sorry, I think I was muted, but yeah, the College of Charleston programs will start the second week of June and run into the first or second week of August. We may end up pushing some back later into August, but we run into school starting again, and but we will see. Hopefully we can all be on the water. Seems like a pretty safe activity to me, but we'll see how it all pans out here. Does anybody else have any other questions, thoughts?
Hey, Jessica, can you unshare? And then what I'll do is
Oh, sorry.
I've got one video we'll end up on. It's a little project that's close and dear to my heart, if we can figure out what that event is.
Yeah, and I mean, I think Randy will wrap up, but you know, my one comment in echoing I think the reason why Jason wanted to do this call was just that Charleston is a really amazing place to sail. I grew up in Minnesota, and there's a lot of water up there, and we sailed in the summer. We actually sailed on ice boats in the winter, which was pretty fun. But and those go really fast. But this harbor is such a beautiful place to sail, and I think what Randy's going to show us is one of the premier events in the world, and you know, that would be typically happening right now. But it's pretty it's a pretty awesome thing to do here in Charleston, and it's not the easiest place in the world to sail because there is a fair bit of current that runs in and out. But it is a great place to sail.
I can get there. Yep. Sorry, guys. There we go. Is that coming out okay?
We're getting the video for sure. Just again, no audio.
Yep, sorry. As you can see, there's a lot of crew in those shots, so there's lots of opportunities to go sailing. That's pretty much it for us. Any other questions? One last chance.
I have to tell you, watch that video. I can just look at your faces and see the emotion that's coming out, because we've all been cooped up and you were expecting to see all these people and have this time together. And there's a huge emotional side as we share the things that we're passionate and interested about. And we're hoping that all of us can sustain those, you know, once we get out of this. So sharing that emotional side, it means a lot to us and the students as well. And I want to thank you all for that too.
It's a great sport. I'll email you this PowerPoint, Jason, so you'll have it.
Yeah, that'd be
with all
wonderful.
the links and everything.
Be wonderful. Well, I want to thank all of you for your time. Our school's got about 80 something students and the rest are in classes. And so we're recorded this and they'll all be watching it, before the end of the week. And then we'll be sharing it publicly, and want to thank all of you for your time and your insights. And it is so amazing. When you look outside, like right now, it's lovely and the weather is nice and it's modestly blowing. You've shared something that you're very passionate about. It means a lot to us. And I hope that you'll inspire our students and some people in the greater community to connect with you in the coming weeks and months when things hopefully return back to something more akin to normal. So thanks to Taylor Harris from the Convention Visitor Center Bureau, and thanks to all of you, Jessica, Kevin, Randy, for all of that. That was a really wonderful experience to share with us for the last hour. So thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. It's great to share what we do, and we have some great resources here in Charleston. So we hope to see you guys out in the water. If you ever need any information, we're here.
And we're excited to see you on the water soon.
Yes, thank you guys.
Thanks to everybody. Everybody
Thank you.
take care. Bye. Thank you again, Randy, Jessica, Kevin.
Bye, thank you guys.
Thanks for putting it together, guys.